acquisition. So more introductions, more referrals, more commissions, more of everything when people learn about the charitable gifting of real estate. This is a unique value proposition that requires no selling. We love that we here on this masterclass that we are so generously providing for free because we want the world to understand this. We will never sell anyone anything. We want people to raise their hand and join us because it resonates with them, not because they were sold on it. And donors are not sold on donating real estate. They are educated and provided options. They make decisions for themselves. We love that. The financial outcomes, we talked about the whole financial leverage. Guys, making money and making a difference, we can't say it any better than that. It truly is the win-win-win of a lifetime. This is a timely alignment. 1 out of every 10 people in this country works for a nonprofit. In other words, this is a huge economic need, what we are providing here. Major gifts of assets are the hottest topic in nonprofit conferences, and because of us in real estate conferences. Real estate is the largest asset class in America, period, and always will be. And that is why you hear us say that proceeds from gifts of real estate will always be a better way to fund a nonprofit than a fundraiser, period. Potential changes, guys, what if the 1031 tax exchange were to go away or be limited? What if capital gains taxes are increased? These are big deals. New money from gifts of real estate. So we're going to be talking about this too, how the $9 billion currently donated is shifting to $29 billion a year, and you can be a part of that. So here's what you're going to learn today. Why have you never heard about this before? If this is so great, why have I never heard of it? Okay, I get it. It's been around for 100 years, but really, who would give their property away? Why a specialized nonprofit? What even is that? And how can we leverage it? Who are these people, the real agents of change? How do they participate in all of this? Why would you want to partner with them? What is charitable leverage? What do I do with all this knowledge? Remember back to the 5 keys. Key number 1 is to learn. But once you've learned, what you gonna do with it? How do I find the first charitable gift of real estate? We will drop little hints about that throughout the presentation, but at the very end, we're going to talk specifically about who to talk to, what to say, and how to say it. How do you leverage real estate for real change? How can you bring your whole community together so that everybody's making money, making a difference? Now, you may have questions. We hope you have questions. We want you to have questions. The more questions, the better. So if you write them down, put them over in the chat box. At the end of each segment, I will be answering questions. I'll go over and look in the chat box. I'll invite you to turn on your camera and your microphone and share them out loud. Know that about 90 to 95% of your questions will get answered in the next 3 hours of presentation. But we always want you to ask it the minute it's on your mind, because as soon as you ask the question, you can move on from that and learn something new. So let's get into section 1. Section 1, concepts and collaborators. What is this whole thing really all about? At the end of each section, take us about 45 minutes to get through the section. We will have a potty break, as they call a bio break. I'm a mom, so I say potty, but we'll have a bio break in questions, and we'll be doing case studies in between each section. So what is this connection between philanthropy and real estate and the IRS tax code? Philanthropy is simply the love of mankind and humanity, generosity in all of its forms, whether it is your time, your talent, or your treasure. In some cases, treasure is cash. In some cases, treasure is real estate. So when people say to me, Cami, I'm not a philanthropist, I don't have money like Bill Gates. Friends, if you're volunteering, if you're even on this video, whether it's live or in the recording, you're a philanthropist because you are investing your time to learn about how to help humanity and mankind. 501c3 is an IRS designation for qualified organizations that provide goods and services for the public good. And by the way, the more I learn about this, it is also a designation that allows for tax write-offs. The tax deduction, introduced by the IRS in 1917. Once again, 501c3s, when any kind of treasure is donated to a 501c3, whammo, you have a tax deduction. So when this law was created, it was created to incentivize taxpayers, not just the wealthy, but any and all. You'll hear us tell stories about folks who aren't exactly wealthy, but they have donated real estate because it's the right thing to do. Now, a charitable gift of real estate is a gift of real estate that is donated to a qualified 501c3 nonprofit. Now, put your phones down. Let's not be Googling or searching or looking up words. Let's stay present, especially for this first 30 minutes, because the real estate has to be donated to a 501c3 in order for the donor to get the tax benefit. And guess what? We do not want your nonprofit to take gifts of real estate. So stay with us. Deduction gross when the asset is appreciated, like a piece of real estate that was purchased for $200,000 and is now worth, $1 million. There's taxes that would be paid on that. It's called capital gains tax. But when the property is donated to the nonprofit, that tax is not paid. And it sounds simple enough. There are donors in this country and around the world who have donated real estate, who want to donate real estate to nonprofits, who are calling them and emailing them every day. 44 of these donations on average happen a day, happening all over the place. So what's the big deal? Well, it's very complicated and it's risky for those nonprofits. So the solution is a specialized nonprofit that exclusively accepts gifts of real estate. So if a veterans group's mission statement is to support veterans, and an animals group is to support animals, and a church is to support faith, this type of a nonprofit exclusively supports accepting gifts of real estate, provides the donor the tax benefits so that the ultimate nonprofit that is receiving the proceeds doesn't have to worry about the paperwork and the tax benefits. They absorb the title and financial risk because every piece of real estate, even when it's free and clear with no mortgage, it can get complicated and there can be holding costs. They work with the brokerage community to sell the real estate. What that means is wherever the real estate is, Detroit, Miami, California, Texas, New York, they're going to work with the realtor in that community to sell the real estate. They pay that realtor a full commission. And if you're not a realtor, you need to know that because you will want to partner with realtors because they will want to know that. And it grants to the other nonprofits the bulk of the cash proceeds. In other words, because this specialized nonprofit stepped in the middle to handle all the nitty gritty, now there are proceeds from that sale, and they simply grant it to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have it. So these are just some of the nonprofits that have benefited from gifts of real estate. They're all over this country, in some cases all over the world. And we talk about Fidelity Charitables at the top because, friends, there's 1.3 million nonprofits in this country. Fidelity Charitables sits right on top of that pile as the one that brings in the most money. And even they don't want to do their own real estate. Even they leverage a third-party specialized nonprofit to help them. And guess what? They work with the same team that we do. If they're good enough for Fidelity Charitables, they're good enough for us. Now, universities, churches, public radio, you name it, and there have been grants given to these nonprofits. Now, don't misunderstand, this is not about writing grants. You do not write a grant. There are no fundraisers or grant writing. It is granted because the donor who donates the real estate wants them to have it, period, end of story. So why were these specialized nonprofits created? Here are some really interesting numbers that have created this whole special secret real estate niche. 43% of our wealth as a nation is held in real estate. You'll notice the little 3% sliver, which should be a whole lot smaller on that pie chart. Less than 3% of what we have as a nation is in cash. Yet, only 2%, a tiny little sliver, 2%, only 2% of charitable gifting of real estate comes from real estate. So, actual giving in 2020 was $474 billion. And only 2% of that, $9 billion, came from real estate. So if in 2020, $9 billion came from real estate, and that's only 2%, but we know 43% of our wealth is held in real estate, the potential here, experts are saying, and have done their own research, that 2% can go to a whopping 6.5% of money brought in to the nonprofit world from real estate. And when that happens, when that 2% to 6.5% shift happens, that brings us from 9 billion to 29 billion a year to nonprofits. That's why we say this is a potential addition of 20 billion a year to the nonprofit world. So when you look at that, 29 billion from real estate, think about that. The only way all of this real estate can turn into $29 billion is to list it and liquidate it. Get rid of it and give the cash to the nonprofit world. And that, my friend, equates to 1.74 billion a year in commission to real estate agents. The average sale or the average donation, the average donation from real estate is $550,000. It's actually $557,000 last year. And so what we're saying here, every donation of real estate, well, not everyone, 99% of the donations of real estate are not donated for the nonprofits to move into, manage, and maintain. They are donated to give the donor the tax benefit so that the property can then be liquidated and give the cash to the nonprofits. That is why every sale needs a local real estate agent. So it is the benefits for these charities and their champions. That is why this group, the Real Agents of Change, was created. You see, our goal is to make you proactive versus reactive. Up until this red hot minute, when we saw this opportunity and created this class to educate you, so that you, nonprofit, you, real estate agent, you, financial professional, you, fundraising expert, so that you can learn about this. Because up until this moment, this has been a reactive versus proactive scenario, meaning somebody randomly Googles, searches, finds out they can donate real estate, and they find a specialized nonprofit, or they find a nonprofit that will accept gifts of real estate. It's been a very reactive kind of thing. Proactive means that we are actually taking the initiative to find donations of real estate. That's what we're here to do. Help you, help us be a part of the proactive nature of this. So, as I mentioned in my opening story, when I was in real estate, I was taught by a realtor who did 125 deals a year, who led me to his coach. And therefore, when I got my real estate license, I was in the top 5% right away. HGTV house hunters. I don't say this to impress you, but to impress upon you, I've been in a lot of real estate conversations, deals, marketing, door knocking, phone calls, role playing, objection handling, etc. So with all of that in mind, working with some of the biggest real estate companies, helping them to lead generate, working with fundraising groups everywhere from Ronald McDonald and Make-A-Wish Foundation to the smallest, just a really simple nonprofit that supports local children with cancer. With all of that as my background and under my belt, we take that real estate experience and the networking experience of being to thousands of networking events and meeting tens of thousands of people, and the nonprofit experience and all these cause marketing campaigns that we've done over the years, long before learning about charitable gifts of real estate. And it has simply created this win-win-win, because it was all of this mindset and filter that had the Real Agents of Change be created so that we can leverage this secret real estate niche that has been around for over 100 years. We didn't invent charitable gifting of real estate. U.S. government did. We didn't invent the specialized nonprofit. They saw that there was a need for a bridge, a go-between between the donor and all other nonprofits a long time ago. What we saw was a way to bring our real estate agent friends in, our financial advisor friends, our smaller nonprofits and bigger nonprofits who don't have their own real estate department. Let's just all come together so that we can create real change through real estate. So the book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not. 5 Keys to Revolutionize How Charities and Champions Fund Causes, Careers, Companies, Communities is out. I'll actually have my assistant put in the chat. You can go find the book. You can go ahead and pre-order the book. If you pre-order the book, we don't even have the printed copies in hand yet, but we placed the order last week. If you order the book now, you can get the digital version of it for free until the book comes out. We've created this List the Legacy Listing Month, which was in April, so that we can revolutionize how our nonprofits are getting funded, how our real estate agents are getting etc. For any questions, comments, concerns, hallucination, it's 11:40. And if you have questions, let's answer them. If not, I will be. That gives you. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and play a case study. 1 second. I'm going to share the screen. Welcome to another episode of the Real Agents of Change, our success stories with our favorite specialized nonprofit, Realty Gift Fund. Bruce, what is the story for today?
Well, we are in the new year, Cammie, so let's talk about what happens at the end of the year in the nonprofit world when you have millions of donors who are looking to make that final donation so that they can get their tax deductions for that particular year. The one that comes to mind, Jay and I were sitting on his sofa watching a football game on a Sunday afternoon, and I took a call from the Berkeley Humane Society. And they said, look, we just took a call last week from a donor who has 12 residential lots they would like to donate to us, but the donation has to close this year. This was like December 10th, whatever that Sunday was when we were watching NFL playoffs. We did get it done. By December 31st, we did close in the Oakland area on 12 actually quite unique and difficult residential lots, difficult to develop. And
now, when you say close, Bruce, as you've taught me, there are two steps. There's the charitable gift and then the charitable funding. So
right.
To be clear, you closed by acquiring the property from the donor to give that donor the tax deduction they needed, but the property didn't actually close to the end user yet. Is that what you mean?
Well, correct. We now own these. Actually, it's 13 lots. We found out at the last minute that there was a 13th one hanging out there. So we closed on the donation, which gave the donor the tax deduction they were looking for in 2021. We now own these lots, and we are underway with looking for buyers who might bundle up. We might bundle up a few lots and sell a few to a particular buyer. We might sell 13 lots to 13 different people. We are underway with that task. And so it was just proof. Once again, we've done this before. We did an office building the year before, 80,000 square feet, completely empty in Indiana. We went start to finish in 21 days, closed on December 29th. We do know how to get it done when it's important to our donor, and that was just another example of how we were spending Friday, December 31st, signing a bunch of papers to accept these lots.
Now, when the lots sell, what's the approximate amount that's going into the nonprofit pipeline?
We're not exactly sure. It's going to be north of 500,000. It could be up to $1 million. These are, like I said, they're kind of difficult lots. So we're going to have to entice somebody into taking them. But I think it's in that range, and it's going to go to the Berkeley Humane Society.
Well, there you have it, friends. There's another production by the end of the year. The nonprofit themselves couldn't get it done. They reached out to Real. Okay, well, there you have it. Just one of the stories that we share. I love at the end that they mentioned Berkeley Humane Society, because I found out that of all money was donated, animals and the environment are both together in the same category, and they bring in the least amount of money of all nonprofits. They only bring in 3% combined. So for me, that's kind of sad that animals get that low of a priority. And anyway, any questions, comments, concerns about what we're talking about here? We are going to take just a 5-minute bio break. And I'm glad we are a little ahead of schedule. Happy to answer a question. I see a beautiful woman without Hiltress blue jacket. There she is. Would you like to introduce yourself? I can't hear you. You're not muted, but I can't hear you. I love your hair, though. I wish I could do that with mine. Get it out of my face. Wait a minute, sis. There you are. Nope. Tell you what, we're going to take a 5-minute break. If you can figure out your audio, we'd love to interact with you and have some engagement. Everybody, let's come back at 11:50. See you in a few minutes.
Oh,
oh, there she is. Okay, you got your mute done. Okay.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me. I am on Clubhouse still, and so I think it was giving a little bit of a feedback. And this is my first time using a Zoom on my cell phone.
Oh, got it. So you are with Sam Silver on Clubhouse right now.
I think so. Yes, I just joined the room, and I thought it was very interesting to see the video attached. So I'm like, okay, this is a great idea.
So what's your first name?
My first name is Hiltress.
Hiltress. Okay, I did. Filter, what brings you here?
Yes, well, I just opened a nonprofit, a transitional housing for women experiencing domestic violence. Hold on, let me come out of Clubhouse because I'm getting bad feedback. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I just started a transitional housing unit for women who have experienced domestic violence or any sort of crisis. It's just open on the 13th of May. So I'm really interested in learning more about, of course, I'm funding it all myself now. So I'm really interested in learning more about getting into the nonprofit sector of real estate. I deal with owners. I have a property management company as well. So I deal directly with owners. I don't have any real estate licenses, but I deal directly with the owners. So, and just, deal with the real estate attorneys and the title company.
So how are you currently getting funded or plan to get funded?
Well, currently I'm just using my business to fund, the transition center and a church. But I've been taking classes on the nonprofit. So I'm looking for a sponsor now. I've recently learned about the sponsorships. So I'm probably going to go the sponsor route, and I've been doing fundraisers on Sundays, brunch fundraisers, things like that. Not successful yet, but I'm hopeful.
So is your business property management? That's your business?
Yes, that's one of my businesses. I also have a construction business.
Girl, let me tell you something. You are meeting tons of people who own real estate. Some of them are full of tenants, trash, and toilets. And they would not want to sell them because of the tax burden that it would create. But when you can give them an option and an opportunity to donate that real estate to you, now check it out. I understand you do housing for people who are coming out of domestic violence. God bless you. See, our mission is to fund your mission. Our purpose is to fund your purpose. You're out in the streets doing the work that we're not doing. We just want to get you funded. But what we want you to know is real estate can be donated for you to move into, manage, and maintain. In other words, one of these buildings could be donated for your nonprofit to be the house for the domestic violence folks. But that's less than 1% of what gets donated. What's more likely to happen is a piece of real estate anywhere in the country of any size, of any kind, can be donated on your behalf, liquidated, and you get the cash to do what you need in your nonprofit. So it could be a condo in Florida. It could be a big farm in Texas. It could be a skyscraper in New York City. It doesn't matter where it is. It's not for you to move into or manage. It's for us to liquidate and give you the cash. Does that make sense?
Yes, I've never heard of this. I'm very interested.
No, right? I had never heard of it either. Okay, my love, thank you for unmuting. I'm going to get back to doing the presentation. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions moving on, please let me know. Friends, we're going to get on into section 2. And if you, let me encourage, as a matter of fact, I apologize. Let me look at the chat and see if there's any questions over here. Okay, I don't see any questions. Feel free to put your contact information, put your name, your phone number, your email, your website, the marketplace that you're in. Like, this is a place to start, creating the resources and relationships and revenue that all come together from the real agents of change. There's also a form that my assistant will put into the chat where you can actually put in your name and phone number. There will be resources that we offer to provide to you. For example, that case study that we just showed is one of 7 that are at therock.com/donations. So make sure that you put your name and contact information so that we can make sure you get all of the resources. Okay. Share screen. Let's come on over. Yeah. It's a gift fund. Who got it done? And get rid of that. All right, let's talk about section number 2. Section number 2 is all about benefits and strategies. Why is it a win-win-win for everyone included? So first thing for you to know, please mute yourself out if you're in the background there. Just want to make sure that our audio is as good as possible. There are 3 key stakeholders. There are the donors. Okay, donors can be private individuals or they can be corporations. There are the advisors. And for check, the advisor much risk. What if it's contaminated? What if it doesn't sell? Who's going to pay the taxes and the upkeep and landscape the damn thing? Who's going to manage the property? Lack of allowable funds. What if there's a mortgage to get paid off? What if it needs a roof for $50,000 before it can be sold? What if? They have a lack of expertise. And friends, even if I sit on their board of directors, the whole thing about the lack of funds, if there's a condo in Florida that's being donated for our New Friends Domestic Abuse Center, and there's a $500,000 mortgage on that property, that $500,000 mortgage has got to be paid off before the title can exchange hands that gives the donor the tax benefits. I might sit on the board and be smart, but I'm not coming out of $500,000 to pay that off. So these are the problems. Mission drift is a big problem. Every one of the 1.3 million nonprofits has a mission. Our new friend has a mission, and it says something about providing clean, healthy living environments for people who are coming out of domestic abuse situations. We do not want her drifting off of her mission, trying to figure out a skyscraper in New York City that just got donated. Bad experiences haunt them from the past. If you talk to nonprofits, they'll tell you, oh yeah, we accepted a piece of real estate 20 years ago and it was contaminated. Or we heard about the Boy Scouts that took a piece of real estate and they almost went bankrupt. Like they've heard these scary stories. This is why they say no. They have been blocked by actual gift acceptance policies that say no to non-cash assets, no to real estate, especially if it costs money. So most of them won't even ask for real estate, and God forbid somebody actually offers them some real estate, they'll just say no. It is the nonprofits themselves that have said no. They say things like, we took a gift of real estate once and we will never do it again. Or they say, we do accept real estate on a limited basis, only if you give our board months and months to figure it out, and only if it's mortgage free. We're not giving the donor any cash. We're not paying off mortgages. We're not putting on a roof. So in other words, they may accept real estate, but boy, do they have restrictions on it. So what we are saying is that it is the nonprofits themselves that are blocking the market, and that's okay. We understand why. We understand why you, nonprofit, should not be accepting real estate. We understand why you, financial advisor, haven't been telling your clients about it, because the nonprofits, 99% are going to say no. We understand that. That's why we have this thing called a specialized nonprofit who has a mission themselves. The mission for the specialized nonprofit is to accept real estate of any kind from anywhere, taking on all financial and environmental risks inherent in real estate transactions and convert them to cash. They then give the proceeds to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have it. People ask me all the time, who decides who gets the money? Friends, if I have a $100 bill and I want to donate this $100 bill, who decides where the $100 bill goes? I do. Whoever has a deed to a piece of property, they decide where the money goes. And it could be one nonprofit. It could be dispersed to 3 nonprofits. It could be dispersed to 100 nonprofits. Point is, the donors decide. Now, this is what we mean when we're talking about the awakening. Non-cash versus cash gifts to nonprofit. When a nonprofit can benefit from non-cash assets, their endowments grow at 6 times the rate of the nonprofit who only accepts cash. This is a study done by Dr. Russell James. He has written the foreword to our book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not. He and his team have done the research, and they have proven that when a nonprofit can benefit from non-cash assets, they grow at 6 times the rate of one that does not. Donors, your current donors. Cammie, where do these gifts of real estate come from? Friends, people you know. There are people that you know right this minute that would donate real estate if they knew. Every nonprofit in this country, and there are 432 nonprofits per county on average in this country, every one of them have donations of real estate in their donor list. They just don't know because they've never asked. They've never talked about it. They've never had the confidence or the conversation or the conviction to know that it could be handled properly. Jackie Franey of the Nature Conservancy taught us that. No additional donors are needed. We've just said that a lot. Switching to a new type of asset. Donor list of 1,000 donors, given cash. Donor list of 1,000 donors have stocks and businesses. Donors on a list of 1,000 have real estate. We're not going and finding new donors. We already have donations of real estate. It's instantaneous. One of the nonprofits here in Sarasota, The Haven, which is in our book, the executive director said to me, Kimmy, that was one of the biggest benefits. You're telling me we can get donations from our current donors without finding new ones? Yep, that's what we're saying. So all they need to do is shift acceptance policies, not to accept real estate, not to be burdened or financially hung out to dry, but to safely ask their donors for gifts of real estate, knowing that they have a real estate team to take care of it for them. So one of our favorite sayings is, do what you do best, refer the rest. You do what you do best. Refer the rest to the people who do what they do best. So for example, all these 1.3 million nonprofits, here's what they do best. They strengthen donor interest. They build relationships. The Humane Society lets people know that they have puppies. They strengthen their donor interest. They promote their cause. They do their fundraisers and let people know that there are veterans suffering. They cultivate that emotional connection between the puppies and the kids and the veterans and the environment and the churches and the universities. They share the benefits of non-cash assets. So in other words, when they simply share, look, the average donation from a gift of real estate is $550,000. We at the Real Agents of Change have a podcast called The Real Agents of Change. And we share stories about what these nonprofits would do with $550,000, which is the average from a donation of real estate. When they share these 15-minute interviews on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube, their websites, etc., when they simply share what they would do with that money, that is what they do best. And they start asking for the gifts of real estate. They start letting people know, hey, by the way, thank you for your $25 donation last year. Just want you to know, if you run across anybody, we can actually benefit from real estate. Very simple. Here's what the specialized nonprofit does best. They accept, fix, sell, grant. They are the go-between. They intervene on behalf of everyone involved to make it really simple. They provide the resources all gifts of real estate require, like the realtor, the roofer, the landscaper, the marketing, the PR. Solve the complexity of the entire gift cycle. We'll share another story with you about a piece of land in Minnesota that was raw land that was commercial. They reworked that land to make it residential and doubled its price, its value. They grant the bulk of the net proceeds to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have. And the Rock helps to bring all of us together. We've already vetted specialized nonprofits that will work on your behalf and keep the least amount and are the easiest to get along with. Specifically, what are the benefits to these donors? You're starting to see, right? Okay, it's been around for 100 years. I've never heard of it because nonprofits won't take real estate. So what's been the point in talking about it? Why would real estate agents be taught if 99% of nonprofits are going to say no anyway? I get that. But I still need to be sold out on or explained to the benefits for the donors. Let's get into that. They avoid the capital gains tax when it is an appreciated gift of real estate. Friends, it depends on the real estate, the situation, that specific person's tax situation and circumstance. But what if they could avoid giving 28% of the capital gains to the government? What if? They qualify for a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income. So remember at the beginning, we talked about that property that was appraised at $600,000. What if they donated that? $600,000 came right off of their income, and they paid that much less. Think about your own situation. If you made $600,000, or you made $1 million and took $600,000 off that million and only pay taxes on $400,000 instead of on $1 million. Kind of do the math in your head. Imagine what that would save you. Preserve liquid assets to protect lifestyle. These are things that I've learned over the last couple of years. When we are begging people to buy raffle tickets and go to golf tournaments and buy overpriced cookies at bake sales, we are trying to get them to give us the cash in their pocket that could also be spent on going to dinner or kids' Christmas presents or any other type of thing that they want for their lifestyle. See, this way they can keep their cash and they can benefit the nonprofit world by 7 times more without coming out of pocket. They eliminate a complex asset from their estate. People will say to me sometimes, well, what about little Billy and little Mary? Don't they want to leave this to their heirs? Look, who are we to decide what people will or won't leave to their kids, or if they even have kids or heirs? There are a whole group of people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s right now who either A, don't have heirs and don't know what to do with their real estate. I can tell you stories about that right here in Sarasota. Our friend Jessica Peterson's a real estate agent who's met 3 different people in the last 12 months who have been gifted real estate by a neighbor or a friend because they didn't have any heirs. So, first of all, they want to get rid of that complex asset in case they do leave it to little Billy and little Mary. And secondly, what if they don't have heirs? Simply simplify asset transfers. So, let's say they do want those kids to have the proceeds, the benefits, but the kids wouldn't know what to do with a shopping center in California or a high rise in New York or any of the other property that they wouldn't know what to do with. We're going to show and why they can simplify their estate and put it there. They experience the convenience. One of our favorite stories is of Linda with the National Jewish Health She was a donor on a list of 300,000 donors who was giving $25 a year for 32 years. When she heard someone from the team talking about this a couple of years ago, she donated a cabin that was left condo in Florida, and they love your nonprofit, but they don't love it that much. They want to give you 300,000, but they want to pull some cash out. Yes, we can do that. It's called a bargain sale. Whether they pay off debt, make an investment, to the point is they can tailor the size of their gift. They can do whatever they want with that cash. And let me tell you, the main reason people donate real estate is because they want to leave legacy. Those people you know with 14 cats in their house, they love cats. Those people you know that fly the American flag because they're a veteran, they love veterans. Friends, they want to leave legacy. Now, you're saying, well, I'm impressed by these benefits. I'm starting to kind of get I'm picking up what you're putting down. But who would really donate their property? 80% of these donations happen because of what I just mentioned. Someone's mother died of of people. And 20% of them, we have stories of people who donated office buildings and didn't even care what nonprofit got the proceeds. It was an estate strategic planning action for them. Remember, $9 billion a year is being donated at $550,000 on average, which is about 18,000 times a year, 44 times a day or more. Keys and deeds are being handed over. It's happening. It's just a matter of, are we part of it or not? So either way, what you need to know is that the donors want to do it. They are grateful that you inform them. We have story after story of donor who is so grateful that they found a way to get the money to their church, to their veterans group, etc. They are eager to learn more, just like you right now on this video. You are eager to learn how this can help, whether it's your cause, your career, your company, or your community. The donor wants to know too. It's our job to let them know. So where do you find these? Where do you find these people? We want you to know, we're going to get into this a little bit more at the end of this presentation. We get into it a lot with the charitable real estate champions. Friends, if you want to talk to people about this, it is just like anything else. You got just enough information right now to be dangerous. Be a charitable real estate champion so we can teach you what to say, how to say it, so we can give you some of the tools you need. But what we want you to know right now, just so that you can kind of get this out of your mind and stay with us to learn the rest of the information, we want you to know that you already know them. We're going to help you identify and access them. And now we're going to get on to the benefits to the nonprofits. So nonprofit friends, How does this benefit you? Well, obviously, when you can get an average of $550,000 from one donor instead of selling raffle tickets or writing grants, that's a huge benefit. But let's get some more specific benefits. Now, these are some of the 17 categories of 501c3s. I just want you to sit with that and think about, who do you know who has a 501c3 that helps with job training, research, housing, food, religion? 28% of all money donated to nonprofits goes to churches and religion. So here we go. Nonprofits receive the benefits of gifts of real estate, but avoid the risk and liability. Now, if you're a nonprofit and you see this and you think, I'm pretty smart, I'm pretty savvy, I'll just let my people know, I'll handle it, I don't need any help. Awesome, have at it. But there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of liability, there's a lot of unforeseen things, and frankly, not the least of which is when you start trying to help deal with the real estate transaction for the next 6 to 12 months instead of help the animals or the veterans or the domestic abuse. Frankly, that's a poor use of your talent. You were created for specific mission. Don't have mission drift. This embraces your donors' best interest. It gives them the ability to give smarter. They want to give appreciated assets. It strengthens those relationships. Friends, that story I told about Linda, the fundraiser at that nonprofit told me about 4 months ago. She said Linda used to give $25 a year. Now, Linda gives $500 a year. Why? Because Dr. Russell James teaches us that when people start giving from their wealth bucket, it shifts their psychology and they start showing up as a bigger contribution to your nonprofit in general. You strengthen that relationship and you start getting more cash from them because they're given from their wealth bucket instead of that income bucket. You grow your endowments at 6 times the rate. If you go to Grace, if you'll put in the chat, therock.com/FAQS. Now, friends, don't go off on a research tangent right now. You'll waste a lot of time that you could do that late tonight. But the FAQS, there is the research document by Dr. James that proves how this works. Receive 3 to 7 times more from their existing donors who want to give non-cash assets. Expand. Look, nonprofit. If you do want to do donations that are right local in your area, that are mortgage free and easy, do it. But what about adding major gifts from all over the country or all over the world and doing it from the names that are already on your donor list? Let's talk about these advisors. Advisor, a person who advises people who own real estate. Is that your CPA? Is that the real estate attorney that you do business with? Is it the title company? Is it the mortgage company? Is it the realtor? Is it the financial advisor? Let's put them together and talk about some of the benefits to them. Real estate brokers in general were our first priority when I first learned about this because I have a real estate agent background. I know what realtors want, what they need. And so that's why this whole thing was created. This gives us the ability to elevate to advisory status. Real estate agent, realtor, everybody knows 2, 8, 10, 20, 50 of them. No one knows until we were created a charitable real estate specialist or champion. This gives you advisory status. Switch focus. This is a big one. From a seller who is really emotional and attached to the property to one that is not. So real estate friends, I was just talking with one of my real estate friends this week. She was telling me about a deal she's got going on where there's 4 adult children. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to tell her how to do her job. It is a nightmare. See, when these properties are donated to the specialized nonprofit, it is the specialized nonprofit that becomes the seller. They are not emotional. They are educated. They're savvy. They're easy to get along with, and they pay a full commission. This is a benefit to all the advisors. They earn that full commission. Financial advisors, let's talk about them for a minute. They manage assets under management. They get fees to manage those assets. One asset they cannot manage is real estate. So when the financial advisor who has 500 or 5,000 clients finds out that that hard asset that every one of them have that they don't get paid on, when they can help them liquidate that and put it into a donor advised fund that can then give donations to your nonprofit, they like that. It helps them make money. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. Preserve that next generation. So look, we got $1 million condo in Florida. Donor is 80 years old. Kids don't want the condo. It's in a 55 and older community anyway. They couldn't even use it if they wanted to. So this donor liquidates the $1 million condo, puts that money in a donor advised fund, and now that donor's donor advised fund is left to the next generation. See, that financial advisor just secured a relationship with that kid that now has that donor advised fund. I know that gets a little complicated. Don't get lost in the weeds. We just want you to know there are benefits to everyone when it comes to gifts of real estate. All of the advisors can become certified charitable real estate specialists and champions. The fact is, you want to be on that map. So when people are learning about charitable giving of real estate, you show up as someone that they can partner with because you understand this. It is a fabulous cause marketing campaign tool. You can become proactive. So for you to sit in on this class and learn about this, key number 1 has been turned. You learned a little something new that nobody else in your marketplace or industry knows about. Great. You can wait and react if someone ever walks into your office, or you're ever at a Christmas party and it comes up, or you randomly see something on Facebook. But wouldn't it be even better if you learn how to be proactive? Strengthen those relationships. Friends, people are fickle. They hop all over the place. They will change. Real estate broker, insurance company, they will change and hop around. But when you have a skill that no one else in your industry has, they can't hop around because the other people don't know what you know. Gain access to those new clients. Here's the thing. Your friends and family, right this minute, they're not going to share your new listing or your open house. They're tired of seeing it. They may have already referred you to everybody they know, but when you show up as a charitable real estate specialist and champion who can help fund their church and their animal group and help to conserve their land, they will introduce you to high net worth people. Leverage marketing when these donations are happening and even before. The point is, my friends, is that the advisors benefit because they can make money for making a difference. They can be introduced. You know what? Right now, in this moment, we are being introduced to people that we never would have. Even our Vice President of Community Outreach, Alan Biles, able to connect with a nonprofit that he's been following for 11 years. been loving this nonprofit for a long time, really passionate about their mission. I was able to mention the founder of that nonprofit, who is a celebrity in his eyes, reached out, sent a personal connection, an invitation to get together. That's what we're talking about, expanding your professional network. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's take a little sippy sip of something. I'm having a dramatic pause while I swallow because I want you to pay attention to this. Currently donated is instigated from financial advisors. So when you're wanting to go talk to your favorite nonprofit, that's sweet and you should do it, but you also want to talk to your financial advisors. Their favorite nonprofit is called the Donor Advised Fund. Now, don't worry, nonprofits that are watching, and you think, well, I know I want them to donate to my nonprofit. They can, and they do, and they will, and they can do it through a donor advised fund. Stay with us. This is the fastest growing public charity in the nonprofit world, which is why Fidelity Charitables is the largest nonprofit in this country. They are one of the sponsors for Donor Advised Fund. They hold hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in Donor Advised Fund. The Donor Advised Fund is a charitable investment fund regulated as a public charity, funded by a donor, one time or periodically. So I'm going to break this down for you. I had no idea. I couldn't even say donor advised fund and realty gift fund and charitable gifting of real estate all in the same sentence 2 years ago. It was too confusing. Donor advised fund is a fund that is advised say from all over the country and funded a lot. They could put other things in there like Bitcoin and selling racehorses and business interests, etc. Point is, it can be funded lots of different ways. Administered by a qualified sponsor, Fidelity Charitables, American Endowment, Schwab. I'm going to give you a list in a minute. Directed by the donor, that it grants to other nonprofits. So nonprofit friends, that $1 million condo, they needed to put it all in a donor advised fund because they didn't know you yet. But now that there's $1 million in that donor advised fund, they could send you 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 for the next 10 years if they wanted to. This is how you get grant money, is from these donor advised funds, one of the ways. It is an alternative to a private foundation. It entitles the donor to a tax deduction. The fund grows tax-free and grants are made tax-free. In other words, that $1 million condo, that donor needed a $1 million tax deduction that year. And now that the money is in the donor advised fund, it is gaining interest so that by the time little Billy and little Mary get it, maybe it's 1.1 million that they can now grant out to the nonprofits of their choice. Donor can make periodic contributions. So once again, they put a little bit more money into it. Maybe they need a tax write-off, so they put it in there. We are not CPAs or tax accountants. We are giving you the overall concept. You'll want to speak to your own people about that. Donor can make periodic grants to other nonprofits. So they got that $1 million in there. They can grant it all out the first year. They can grant it over 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. They can leave it to their kids to grant out over the next 50 years. Any size, any time, anonymously, donor advised fund. Advantages to the financial advisor. The direction of the charitable account can include or be passed to others, say from the initial donor to the next generation. So once again, that condo, $1 million, little Billy and little Alice did not want it. It's in a 55 and older community. They wouldn't know what to do with it. So when it was liquidated and put into a donor advised fund, now that money can be left to the next generation. Financial advisor often retains the next generation. Now that that money is in a donor advised fund, little Billy doesn't know what a donor advised fund is. He never would have known what to do with that or how to find a financial advisor. But look, mom and dad left him $1 million in this thing. So now he's going to stay with that financial advisor. They are often allowed to earn fees, assets under management. Assets under management. They get the fees for that. This is a benefit to them. Contributing real estate to a donor advised fund converts that hard asset. Remember, the financial advisor doesn't make any money on that $1 million condo, but now that it's in a donor advised fund, they can get paid to manage it. These are some of the popular sponsors. So remember, we mentioned Fidelity Charitables, the largest one in this country, the largest nonprofit in this country. They don't take real estate. They leverage our team. Schwab, National Philanthropic Trust, Vanguard, all of these, including American Endowment Foundation, who also leverages our team. I did an interview with one of their VPs a couple of years ago. She manages $3.6 billion at the time. And she said, you know, Cammie, we manage all kinds of money and all kinds of businesses, but we don't want to get into real estate. That's what your team does. So the fact is, these sponsors don't accept real estate, as I'm just sharing with you. They refer it to a third-party specialized nonprofit. Same team that we use. So why do nonprofits and realtors and financial advisors and charities and champions and causes and communities, why do they partner with the Real Agents of Change? Because we have the only systems, support, and strategy to find the real estate donations, to handle the real estate donations, to position, partner, and promote, to find and handle more real estate donations, the leverage, the media. We are the only organization in the world that has been created to do this. We have the only national database. So remember the map that I showed you? See, as this is growing, realtors, financial advisors, all these different folks are popping up. If your state is not represented, congratulations. You'll always be the first. If your state is represented, congratulations. You already have partners that you can collaborate with there. Now, this is the end of section 2. I'm going to share another case study, but I most definitely want to open up and see if there are any questions. Let me just read what Tom says. Tom, I'm the executive director of and co-founder of a new nonprofit serving breast cancer survivors. I'm here to understand. Tom, I would love to chat with you. Would you like to turn on your camera? Love to hear a little bit more about your organization and how we can help. Where did you hear about us, Tom?
On LinkedIn.
Good stuff.
You were Shay Rowbottom, or our student, and
yes,
we connected to Shay, so your post popped up and it got my attention. I've been in nonprofit most of my life, and we didn't even want to come close to touching real estate. And I founded the Make-A-Wish Foundation for this region, and we weren't about to touch real estate with that. So got my attention. I wanted to learn more, and see what's going on, because I haven't heard about you guys.
Have you ever, in your whole career of nonprofit world, have you ever had anybody to donate a piece of real estate? Do you have any experience with it?
We didn't ask because we didn't want to. So that was rule of thumb. You can't deliver, you don't offer. So if we can't accept it, we just didn't want to bring it up.
So common, Tom. So thank you for being here, being open-minded and visionary. And it's for that exact reason why the rest of us in the world had never heard of this before, because if nonprofits won't take real estate, there's been no reason to teach it to realtors or to even let donors know about it, because there's no point getting excited. It's kind of like going window shopping and finding the exact thing that you want and then finding out it's not for sale anyway. What was the point? So when I learned about this, I said, look, there's 2 million realtors. Let's certify 1% of them to bring, kind of like, the honeybee goes out and gathers the pollen and brings it back to the hive. We are the pollen they're bringing back to the hive. And over the last couple of years, we've simply learned, we've got realtors that come here, nonprofits, financial advisors, fundraisers, concerned citizens. Alan Biles is now our VP of community outreach and community awareness. And he doesn't even have real estate or financial or nonprofit background. He just knew that this was a good thing when he saw it. So thank you for being here, Tom. Do you have a specific question? I just called you out. Anything I can help you with right now?
Well, yeah, it's not really in line with your train here, but so how are you guys funded? Because and I'm not trying to be skeptical. It's just that is a question I would be asked, because somebody's gonna say there's a catch, there's a scam, because it really is a great system. It sounds like. So what's the catch? Where does the money come from for you guys?
Sure. So we as the Real Agents of Change are the marketing arm, if you will, for everyone that gets involved. So people who want to become certified, become a specialist, become a champion, they pay us a fee for that. So that beautiful map and our online presence and all the websites and the material that you saw on LinkedIn and people see on Facebook, etc., we create that. So people pay an investment to come work with us to help them go spread the word. Now, ultimately, for the nonprofits, this is risk-free and it is zero out of pocket to do a donation of real estate. In other words, a donor comes to you, Tom, and says, you know what? I got a house in California. It's worth 1.8 million. My mother died of cancer. I'd love to support your nonprofit. Here you go. It's not going to cost you one red penny to have us help you to facilitate that. The real estate agents are getting paid a full commission. We actually get a small marketing fee on the back end from the specialized nonprofit for bringing them a transaction. So that's how we get paid. I wrote the book, Real Estate's Hot, Fundraising's Not. I'm a public speaker. This is a topic that no one else is speaking on. I'm the only person in the world that is speaking on. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people talking about charitable gifts of real estate, charitable remainder trust, major gifts of assets. But no one is talking about how to leverage real estate for real change and bring together the realtors and the communities and the business owners and the nonprofits to do this together.
So just so I'm thinking in nonprofit line, so that I have somebody says, I want to donate this piece of real estate. I refer them, or I actually can talk touch with you and say, hey, I'm going to contact these people. They make a directed donation to specialized nonprofit, meaning it comes to us if they name us as the recipient, the ultimate recipient. Is that how it works?
It's really that simple. Yes. So in the next video that I share, when you and I stop talking, I'll share another case study. You'll meet again one of the specialized nonprofits that we work with, which is Realty Gift Fund. These are 4 guys who've got 30, 40 years each of experience in commercial real estate and philanthropy, sitting on boards, etc. They created Realty Gift Fund for just this purpose, to accept gifts of real estate on behalf of any other nonprofit in the country. This is a real estate transaction. It is a contract, just like any other real estate transaction. when they donate the real estate to Realty Gift Fund, there's a donation agreement that's signed. And it says, this is $1 million condo according to the appraisal, according to all of the pieces of the pie, according to the stars that are aligning. When this is said and done, there's going to be $950,000 in proceeds, and donor wants half of it to go to Tom's nonprofit and half of it to go to their favorite church, whatever that is. It's written out right up before anything else happens. When the donor and Realty Gift Fund go into contract, then Realty Gift Fund takes title to that property. The donor is done. They're off title. They get their tax paperwork so that they can write this off. Then Realty Gift Fund lists it, preferably with one of our real agents of change, because we know how this whole thing works. When the property sells, your nonprofit gets 90% or more of the proceeds. We say 90% or more because Realty Gift Fund, just like you, needs to bring in money to keep their doors open. The good news is they keep 10% or less of the proceeds. When I was doing my research, I found a handful of other nonprofits, but here's what they would do. I found one, well, there's a lot of them. If you guys Google, and you should, charitable gifts of real estate, how to do gifts of real estate, you'll find several nonprofits that will take real estate, like Salvation Army. And if the person just wants a tax deduction, great, donate it to Salvation Army or Cars for Kids. But if they want to donate the proceeds to you, they need us to help facilitate it so that you get the proceeds. That's the kicker.
So just from my end, if I was just spreading the word, let's say I just decided to tell all the nonprofits in town here about what you guys do. That's really just philanthropic on my part, because that doesn't benefit our nonprofit directly, which is fine. I mean, I think it's important that people know about this. But if I wanted to maybe hone that down a bit and make that funnel towards us a little bit more, I would go to my personal financial advisor and say, hey, do you know about these guys? It might be worth your while to look into it, because he's high wealth at Morgan Stanley, and then he would be, maybe his whole office gets educated, and then maybe if I'm lucky, somebody comes to us, or somebody comes to him and says, hey, we want to donate. We don't know who, and he could say, well, I know this guy. So, I mean, that would be my role, so to speak, or would I talk to realtors that I know, or?
I love your enthusiasm and your questions. That tells me that you're starting to get it. So, first of all, don't talk to anybody just yet. Let's get done with this conversation. But we will teach you how to talk to them and what to say. And the fact is, your financial guy, here's what I know for a fact about your financial guy. He can be the smartest human being on the planet, have the biggest heart ever, but he doesn't know how this works, because if he did, he would have come to you and said, Tom, you've started a nonprofit. You've been a nonprofit for years. You need to know that you can benefit from gifts of real estate. He hasn't said that to you, so he just doesn't know about this yet. 65% of these donations come from financial advisors, because usually they are smart enough to at least funnel the money to a donor advised fund like Fidelity Charitables. But even Fidelity Charitables has people on staff that if their financial advisor friend said, hey, you have a donor advised fund, will you liquidate this piece of property in Idaho so we can put the money in the donor advised fund? If they get the wrong person at Fidelity Charitables, they'll say, we don't handle real estate. So there's just been a lot of misinformation, a lot of, we just haven't been educated because nobody thought about educating everybody. And that's what we're here for. So hang tight with that. And yes, we will help you talk to your financial advisor. And there are ways that you can make money, Tom. If you spread the word with people, we can give you finder fees. But ultimately, if your financial advisor guy wants to let all of his people know, whether it's his clients or all the other financial advisors in that office, we can find a way for your nonprofit to benefit from anything that comes in from that. So hang tight, and I'm going to share another video. Let's see. I'm going to come over to our handy dandy videos here. And I think I'm going to play this one here. Now, this is speaking of Fidelity Charitables. Watch this video. Welcome to the Real Agents of Change Success Stories interview series, where we love to learn why donors are donating real estate, how much money is going into the nonprofit pipeline, and how these transactions go down. They're very interesting, and there's no better person to share these stories than our best buddy over at Realty Gift Fund, Bruce Geis. Bruce, what story do you have for us today?
Well, Cammie, it's a new year. It's January. And I'm going to tell you a story about a donation that is in progress. It's really just sort of came up at the end of December, intended as a gift to be made in January or February, something like that. And yet it's got some unique elements to it that I think our listeners would want to know about. This is a couple who live in Falls Church, Virginia. They probably live 10 miles from the White House. And so it's an affluent, upper class area, and they live, they're a retired couple that lives in a residential condominium in a very high profile building in Falls Church. Next door to them, they own a unit that they have owned for a long time and have rented out as kind of an investment. So they live, I'm going to make this up, they live in unit 412, and the unit that they have been renting out is 414. It's 2,400 square feet. It's got a value of $850,000. And they are very charitably inclined and wanted to use their appreciated real estate to make a charitable gift. And it's probably going to go into a donor advised fund when we get to the end of the game here. But like many donors, they don't want to give away $850,000 completely. They have debt on the property, and they want some cash in their pocket. So we are going to have to write them a check. We have agreed in our agreement, our written contract, we're going to write them a check for $550,000 for them. That amount is going to be taxable to the IRS, but the rest of the value, depending on their appraisal, which we think is going to be around $850,000, is going to pass free of taxes as a charitable gift to Realty Gift Fund. We're going to take a deed to the entire property. We're going to write a check for $550,000 to the donor. We're going to sell the property. We've hired a broker. She believes we can sell it easily for $850,000, maybe get a little bit more. We'll have some costs. From that $850,000, we will pay those closing costs, and we will pay the $550,000 to the donor, and we'll have $260,000 net left over as the charitable funds that have been produced from this gift. And we don't mind writing big checks to donors when they want money, as long as there's a big gift at the end. And the charitable funds in this case, $260,000, big enough for us. That's going to serve the nonprofit world really well.
So where did this donor come from? How did they learn about the ability to donate real estate?
Since their donor advised fund is going to be at Fidelity Charitable, and I believe they already have that fund set up, they funded it earlier in previous years. While they didn't tell me who, I believe they heard about us from Fidelity Charitable. Fidelity Charitable, as you know, is the largest public charity in America. All they do is house donor advised funds for their donors, which is a funding technique that allows donors to create a charitable fund that is invested by Fidelity Charitable. It is stewarded by Fidelity Charitable, but the donor gets to make gifts out of this fund over the years to their favorite charities for various amounts. And it's the donor advised fund is the most popular charitable vehicle in America today. I'm quite sure that the people at Fidelity Charitable said, if it's real estate, call Realty Gift Fund. Fidelity Charitable does have a complex assets team that will take your Bitcoins and your art and your boat and your car and percentages of your private businesses and private stock and what have you, but they don't necessarily like real estate, and they frequently refer their donors to us. So,
Well, just another simple story of a donor who had a piece of real estate. And in this case, they did a bargain sale, as it is called, when money exchanges hands.
That's correct.
And instead of the largest public nonprofit of Fidelity Charitables, instead of them trying to figure this out on their own, once again, they brought in the Calvary, and Realty Gift Fund is handling the transaction. Okay, it is 12:52. Let's just take a quick 5-minute potty break. I am going to stay here and answer any questions. We will resume at 12:57, the actual material. Questions, comments? I am thrilled to help you.
Doing a great job, Cami. Doing a great job.
Thanks, Sam. Well, let's give some shout outs to people while we're here. Sam Silver is one of our real agents of change in California. He actually has I guess it is a podcast. It's on Clubhouse. Sam, you want to tell the folks a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with charitable gifts of real estate and your hero car and everything you got?
Absolutely. Thank you, Cami. I am a realtor since 2004, and my passion and purpose is giving back to heroes in my community through my real estate business. And recently I added charitable gifts of real estate because it falls in line with what I'm already doing. I give 20% of my gross back to heroes in my community: police, fire, nurses, teachers, nonprofits, government agencies. And these all came from, not only I'm a veteran, so taking care of my brothers and sisters out there that aren't being taken care of properly. I'm there. I'm also a liaison locally for them when they have to go to doctor's appointment and things like that, but I'll make it real short. My passion came from my twins were less than little bit over 2 pounds each. And my passion came from them being in the NICU and the hospital, and the incredible nurses and the staff in the hospital were just absolutely amazing and saved their lives. Now they're 17 and going to college. So talk about giving back to community heroes. It touched my heart when I learned about this and how I can extend what I'm already doing in my business to nonprofits in my community, those veterans, those animal causes, like Cami said. Those animal causes don't get funded because people don't think about them. And all the other ones. I'm actually going to be a coach for Special Olympics bowling coming up. And that's one of the things that I love my Special Olympics community. And my daughter has autism. So Thank you so much, Cami. And I'm going to land my plane.
Let me know how we can support you with Special Olympics. Let's have a Zoom with that organization. Let's let them know. And you know, guys, we at the Real Agents of Change, we are always talking about how we make money and make a difference. We make a difference and make money. In other words, look, Sam's family deserves to have a nice lifestyle, just like you, just like me. And if Sam brings Special Olympics to the table, all those people, they have hundreds of thousands of people on their donor list. Linda was on a 300,000 donor list. She was given $25 a year for 32 years. She donated real estate. We should never have a scarcity mindset. Oh, my nonprofit's too small, or I don't know anyone. No, you've just never talked to people about this. And we, to Tom's point, we give you the confidence to be able to talk to them. Because if they do donate you real estate across the country, or a $10 million strip mall, or a $100,000 skyscraper, don't worry. You can handle that, and you will get the proceeds. Okay, I'm going to go start sharing screen. Let's jump back into section number 3.
There's my hero car. I just want to show that's my hero car in the corner.
Yeah. You can show it again too when we come on the next break, Sam. He's got a beautiful car that he drives around to show what he's up to. Okay, section number 3. What are the documents and the do's and the don'ts? What really qualifies? What qualifies as a gift of real estate? Well, let's talk about this. Now, the big answer is any property that's not a timeshare. But let's get into some details about that, because there does need to be equity. And it does need to be saleable. In other words, don't get hung up in the mindset, oh, this is about real estate people need to get rid of, or they want to unload. Look, if somebody is trying to unload something because it's contaminated or crap or unsellable, why in the heck would Realty Gift Fund want to take that on? Why would any other specialized nonprofit want to take that on? This is about property that is marketable and will sell. Starting with residential. So whether it is a primary house, people always equate this to the little old lady who loves the church and leaves her house when she dies. Of course, that's part of it. But you know what? There's a lot of little old ladies right now who can move in with their kids and donate that house and see the church do something with the money because of the way that we've structured this. Let's leave legacy before we've passed away. Second homes. Linda's home was a cabin in the Poconos. It was a second home, just like a condo on the beach or a cabin or a lake house. Investment properties, there are tons and tons of, as we were talking earlier with someone who deals with property management, tenants, trash, and toilets. Lots of people own single family homes, and they've been doing it for Section 8 or what have you, and now they're ready to do something good with those good deeds. Commercial. Keep in mind, average donation is $550,000 residential. Commercial average is $900,000. So there's a story that we have of a multifamily that was donated in the Cambridge area near Boston about 18 months ago. Guy had a 4-family. He bought it 30 years ago for a couple $100,000. It's now worth over $1 million. He didn't want his kids to have it. He said right in the interview that he didn't want his kids to have it. He wanted them to work for their money. Office buildings. One of the case studies is about an office building, strip mall. Once again, if a nonprofit will take a residential that's local, mortgage free. Maybe that sweet little old lady who wants to leave her house to the church and it's next door and it's mortgage free. Take it. Do it. Do it at what you want. But what if it's a strip mall, downtown Boston? What are they going to do with that? Storage facilities, restaurants, just giving you some food for thought, right? It's any real estate. Hospitality. Guys, pandemic has actually created a whole new sub niche in this niche called bank-owned property. Now, the people who are losing their homes and their strip malls and their office buildings in foreclosure, they can't donate, but the banks who took them back can. Land. What if it's land out in Texas, out in the mountains or something? It needs to be marketable. Got to be able to sell it. It can't be, landlocked in the middle of nowhere that nobody wants. Could be raw, residential, commercial. We've got some new partners, the Quakerdale Foundation. Oh boy, they love what we're doing. They're so excited. They were telling us that farms in their area are going for, I think he said 2,000 an acre, or 20,000 an acre. I don't know. It's like crazy. And they could just imagine having these things donated to them. No timeshares. And I actually have had people over the last couple of years ask me about that. What about my timeshare? No, can't donate that. Okay. Length of ownership. Keep in mind, 80% of people donate real estate because it's the right thing to do. And none of this matters. They're going to donate it whether it's a tax write-off or not, just because it's the right thing to do. However, from a tax perspective, if you're wanting to avoid capital gains and have all the other tax benefits, it needs to have been owned for a year or more. Marketability. Let's talk about that for a second. That condo that we keep talking about in Florida, it's in a 55 and older community. And right now it is filthy. It is dirty. You can't give it away. It stinks. I mean, it's nasty. You just about would have to give it away. Not really marketable. But when the donor of that property donates it to a specialized nonprofit who sees, well, you know what? It needs $20,000 worth of cleanup and paint, maybe a new bathroom, new kitchen. Maybe if that specialized nonprofit invested 20 grand in it that the owners don't have, etc., well, now it's marketable. In other words, marketability can change depending on the circumstances of who owns it. It could be that it's $1 million piece of property that won't sell because it needs a new roof and the owner doesn't have $100,000. But now the specialized nonprofit puts on that roof and it is marketable. It's got to be something that would sell. There's no need for anyone to get involved with a property that won't sell. Underlying tax circumstances. So you'll notice, Grace, if you can put in the chat, therock.com/property evaluation. One of the first questions we ask is, what are your philanthropic intent? Why do you want to donate this? Because friends, if someone wants to donate to pull one over on the government and try to, bait and switch or something, we're not interested. This is a legitimate, just like, Tom asking, well, what do I say to people? How do we know it's not a scam kind of a thing? Look, same team that works with Fidelity Charitables, the largest nonprofit in this country, is who we're partnered with. We have no interest in trying to do something that is going to ruin the name of anyone involved. Underlying tax circumstances are important. You need to make sure that the people who are donating this real estate are doing it for the right reasons. All right, let's talk about this minimum equity thing. Now, Linda's cabin that we talk about all the time, it was a $70,000 cabin. After expenses, a check for $39,000 was cut to that nonprofit. Now, that is National Jewish Health. They bring in hundreds of millions a year. They've had checks for over $1 million given to them more than once by an individual. $39,000 wasn't a huge deal, but it was a big deal. It was so big that they actually took professional photos of Linda and put her on their postcards that they send out about donations of real estate, because it was a big deal to her. And $39,000 is a big deal to 99% of nonprofits. So there are donations that are smaller like that, but on average, we're looking for $250,000 in equity. Keep in mind, the average donation is $550,000. So this doesn't really come up that much. But the reason that there is a minimum is because the specialized nonprofits that we use, there are 3 that we think of the most, and they're the only ones, frankly, that we know that will work with other nonprofits like this. Keep 10% of the proceeds. And since the minimum is $20,000 for them to take on this kind of a headache and responsibility and financial obligation, that is why the minimum equity is $250,000 that we look for. There are exceptions in every case, but that's what we're looking for. Average equity, once again, is $540,000, $550,000. We need to update the slide. Maximum, there is no maximum. Cami, what if it's $100 million hotel with a $30 million mortgage? Love it.
Come and click the link
Let's
above.
do it. I have asked the specialized
And join our
nonprofit, and
Zoom
they've told me
meeting
numerous
already
times
in
we can
process.
handle anything, and they can handle it quickly.
Thank you
In
for
most
coming in the room.
cases, within a couple of weeks, they actually pay
Thank you,
off
Tessa. Thank you,
mortgages
Matt.
and get donors off the deed and get hold of that property so
Feel
they can
free
get it
to
on the
share
market.
as well
For instance, like hot
to your
potato.
nonprofit
Got a hot one, got a hot
or
one,
realtors
got to pass it off to
that
the
are
realtor,
interested
get it
in
sold so we can get the cash to the
making a
nonprofit
difference,
world that needs
making a
us
change, making a difference, and
so
making
desperate.
a living.
Now, what are the required documents? Keep in mind, this is a real estate transaction just like any other from the perspective of when it is listed for sale to the public. But to get the property for sale to the public, the property needs to exchange hands with the specialized nonprofit. So let's take a look at what this paperwork looks like. So you have a donor, and the donor says, yep, I got this $1 million condo in Florida. I want to fill out the property evaluation and see if it is a good deal. Is it a good idea for us to do this? They fill out that form. We introduce them to the specialized nonprofit. Specialized nonprofit creates 2 net gift estimates. One of them is if the property were to be sold, traditional, no donation to a 501c3, paying the government the 28-30% capital gains, et cetera, and a second net sheet that shows them if you donated it, here's what would happen. When they decide, yep, this is a good idea for us, they have this net gift estimate. There is a donation agreement. So if that condo is free and clear and the donor does not want $1 back, here's the keys, here's the deed. It is a donation agreement. They're donating the real estate. It is written all through the agreement. Here's what the appraisal is. Here's where we want the funds to go. Here's what we've agreed that the specialized nonprofit will keep as a donation for doing the transaction, et cetera, all in a contract. Bargain sale is when the donation has some money that needs to exchange hands. What if there is a mortgage to be paid off? Now, some of you might be saying, well, Cami, when the piece of real estate sells, the mortgage is going to get paid off. No. The real estate is being donated to a 501c3, the specialized 501c3. It is exchanging hands. In order for a piece of real estate to exchange hands, it has to be lien free. The mortgage has got to be paid off in order for that specialized nonprofit to take title, which is what gives the donor the tax advantages they want. So if a mortgage has to be paid off, or the donor says the property's free and clear, and I love Tom's Cancer Research Group, love them a lot, but I don't love $1 million worth. I want 500,000. They can have the rest. That's called a bargain sale. If any money exchanges hands, it's the same thing as a donation, only now the donor is getting some money. Donation disclosure agreement, just like any other type of disclosure, it talks about how, to the best of our knowledge, this is the appraised value. It outlines what the whole agreement is going to look like. It just discloses everything that everyone is agreeing to. Okay, there are two IRS forms, 8283 and 8282. This first one is signed by 3 parties. People ask us all the time, what kind of contract or arrangement or agreement do we need to get into with the real agents of change or the specialized nonprofit? You don't. These donations are made between the donor and the specialized nonprofit, period. So the IRS form is signed by the appraiser. When there's an appraisal that says this condo is worth $1 million, the appraiser is on the line to sign that, stating, I am a professional appraiser. This is the amount that I say it's worth. The donor is signing it because this is the form that's going to the IRS that is going to give them the $1 million tax deduction. And the nonprofit is going to sign it, the specialized nonprofit that is taking that donation. The second IRS form is the 8282. And remember, do what you do best, refer the rest. Whatever you do best, don't be so worried about trying to memorize and figure all this stuff out. That's why even Fidelity Charitables doesn't want to do this. IRS is involved. Who wants that? We are just explaining to you so you understand when your donor comes to the table with a piece of property, this is the kind of stuff that is taken off your plate. So this 8282 is signed only by the specialized nonprofit. And it is a form that goes to the IRS if the property sells within 3 years. What does that mean? 8283 was given to the IRS, and it shows that the property is appraised at $1 million, and that is the tax deduction. That is the basis for the tax deduction that the donor used that year. Year 2, year 3, when that property sells, let's say it sells for $900,000, specialized nonprofit fills out the 8282 and sends that in. $1 million appraisal, sold for $900,000. Okay, close enough. Everything jives. We're happy. If the property doesn't sell for 3 years or more, then the second form is not required. People will say, well, what happens then? What's the repercussion to my nonprofit? What happens for the donor? Friends, your nonprofit's not involved in any of this stuff. This is between the donor and the specialized nonprofit. Happy to answer more questions about that later. Just know that this is the kind of stuff you don't have to worry about. Okay, listing agreement. If you're in Utah or California or Connecticut or New York or Michigan or Idaho, whatever your listing agreement and purchase and sales is in your state, this is kind of like an REO property or a relocation package, in that it might be a bank in Utah that's signing the documents for your condo in Florida, but it's still your listing agreement and your purchase and sales. Now let's talk about this property evaluation form for a moment. This is what it looks like in general. We have it online, so people fill it out online now. But the very first question is around the donor's unique goals. This is why we know that 80% of people who donate do it for the right reasons. They might write in here, I'm donating because my mother died of breast cancer and I want to help find a cure. I'm donating because I've had cats my whole life and I want to make sure that the Cat Cafe in Orlando keeps its doors open for the next 50 years. Like whatever that is. It's all the same basic information any realtor would talk to any property owner about. In other words, how much do you owe? What do you think it's worth? Any details about the property. Now, this is what we call the roadmap. I had someone ask me in the very beginning of all this, do you have a really simple way of explaining it? And what it is depends on the conversation, but this is showing what it looks like from the time a donor comes to the table to the time a check goes to the end nonprofit. So step number one, where the donor came from, how they came to a table, that's another conversation. Right now, just know this donor, whether it's the 80% that is donating because they love your nonprofit or the 20% who need the tax advantages, either way, here they are with a piece of property. Number two, they donate the property to the specialized nonprofit who takes title, all financial responsibility. They deal with the IRS. You don't even need to know the address of the property. That's how far removed the nonprofit is. Specialized nonprofit, then number three, lists it with a certified charitable real estate specialist. We have Michael DeShavi on here because he is real agent of change number two. I'm number one, and he's number two. He was the first realtor I called when I learned about this a couple years ago. So Michael lists the property with his paperwork in New York. When the property sells, number three, money is granted. In this case, God's Love We Deliver. That's a nonprofit that Michael loves. It could be your nonprofit. It could be the Boys and Girls Club. It could be the donor advised fund is where the money goes. And then that donor gives out 5, 10, 20,000 here, there, wherever they want it to go. The point is, donor donates to specialized nonprofit who lists with real estate agent, property sells, and funds are given to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have it. Number five, now that all this is happening, remember what we talked about, reactive versus proactive. Let's be proactive. Let's let the media know that when 123 Main Street in Akron, Ohio sells, your nonprofit is getting $300,000 for that. Let's let people know. Let's do PR campaigns. Let's reach out to the financial advisors in our marketplace and show them, hey, you know how you know that a gift of real estate's a great tax deduction, but you've never really done many because you don't know any nonprofits that'll take real estate? Let's work together to change that. So that's what the roadmap is all about. We also have it in this platform. It's the same type of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's open it up for questions. The next section, we're going to get into the difference between being a specialist versus a champion. Questions, comments, concerns. While you guys are thinking, I'm just going to go line us up with